RumbleStrip.net and 10-minute test drive. We're behind the wheel of the Audi TT RS. Very excited to drive this, and in the week we've been driving it, it's been amazing. Now there are a few things we need to talk about, both positive and negative. But in general, yeah, when this goes back tomorrow, it's not a good day. It's way too much fun. So, overall, what do we think about it? Is this something you should own and drive and buy? Is it a good alternative to, say, like a Porsche Cayman or some other sporty car? That's what we're going to find out on this episode of RumbleStrip.net and 10-minute test drive. So believe it or not, it's taken us a while to come to some conclusions on this Audi TT RS. Not because it's bad, but mostly because it's good, but we have some questions about where it falls, and a lot of it has to do with pricing and functionality. So right off the bat, the regular the irregular Audi TT, it's a good vehicle. TTS, better. TT RS, yes, absolutely. When this thing pulled up in our driveway in this mica black, oh, yeah, seek your doctor for erections lasting more than 4 hours. That's not a superlative. It actually is really, it just looked amazing. Let's see, I still have the video of when it rolled in and kind of like the initial reaction. We'll roll that in here for you, but man, it is like, when it was delivered and after it had been detailed and it's all nicely polished and everything, I mean, it is Vader's helmet. That's what this thing looks like. It looks wicked, mean, menacing, just absolutely badass. Would I want to own it in this color? No. I've owned black cars. I hate owning black cars. They're a pain in the ass to keep clean. But that's not to say it doesn't look good, and man, yeah. Inside, hey, it's exactly what you'd expect from an Audi. The interior is very well done. The materials are excellent. Love the stitching in the seat. There's lots of carbon in here, which I could give or take. The controls are, good. They're exactly kind of where you want them. The one thing this does have, though, or maybe does not have, is a display right here in the center. That's gone. It's all nicely styled up here, and everything is here for the driver. Now, is that a bad thing? I don't know. It gets, with everything stashed in the instrument cluster, and yes, this is the nice one with the full LED, 12.3-inch LED. Yeah, it's great, but there's just so much in there, and all the controls that are integrated, I almost want some of that separated, okay? It's only at the end of the week that I'm comfortable with where everything is and can find things, and yeah, it's a bit much. Front and center, the highlight of this vehicle is the 2.5-liter 5-cylinder in this vehicle. And man, does it sound like the glory days of Group B rallying with Audi. Now, I grew up, in the 80s, watching Group B rally on ESPN. Yeah, I know it's a shock, isn't it? But watching, John Buffum and Michel Mouton and Walter Roll and Stig Blomqvist and, and the like, just rock and roll in the Audi Quattro and then the S1. And this being a Quattro and this being a 5-cylinder with a turbo, harkens back to those days. It gives you a little bit of nostalgia. Is it anything like those vehicles? No, but you kind of get that little bit of nostalgia if you're of a certain age. But the 2.5-liter 5-cylinder is 400 horsepower, and I want to say 354 or 364 on the torque, and it's good. Shove from about 2,500 on up to red line, excellent. Laggy? No, not really. Just feels good. It doesn't, like big V8 torque immediately. No, but that's fine. It's a different character and kind of like it. We've done some launches on this thing because it does have launch control, and it'll pull almost a G off the hit. It's got some pull, and to about 330, 400 feet, it's still pulling over half a G, about 0.6 of a G, and then it kind of lets up a little bit. It's quick. 0 to 60, according to the factory, is 3.6. I'd say that's probably about right. Let me throw a wild card at you as something to think about. And this will probably annoy pretty much everyone, which is precisely the reason to make this point. Audi TT RS or Nissan GT-R? Hear me out. Especially the early GT-Rs, the 2008s to about 11s, 400, right around 400 horsepower, and torque is in a similar area. This weighs about 400 to 500 pounds less, about 500 pounds less. GT-R is in the 3,800 pound range. This is a little over 3,300 pounds. All-wheel drive, you know, flappy paddles, launch controls. This is probably a faster car than the GT-R. Now, JDM fanboy doesn't want to hear about it. I think this looks better than a GT-R. It is more involving to drive than a GT-R because I have driven a GT-R on a racetrack. And what this costs new and what you're going to buy a GT-R for used, absolutely, this would come out ahead. A new GT-R, forget about it. This thing is miles ahead, at least on price, and in performance, it's probably close enough as makes no difference. Now, this is a 2+2. The back seats in this thing are a joke. I mean, they are a joke. You can get maybe a thin paperback book between the back of the front seat and the front of the back, and then where your legs would go. I mean, it's no more than half an inch. It's a joke. So it's there for insurance purposes only. Can you put anything back there? You might be able to put a child seat back there till they're about 2. Getting them in and out's a whole different issue. Actually, not that bad, but you know. So this has different driver select modes. It has individual, comfort, dynamic, and normal. And in comfort, it's actually not bad. In dynamic, which is what we spend most of the time in, it's firm without being obnoxious. Really wouldn't want it being any more firm than what it is. Put it into comfort, and it does soften it nicely. Not overly. It's not overly soft, but it's a very comfortable ride. And that's really well done because the tires on this are a 30-section series 20-inch tire. I want to say they're 265 30/20s, but I'll annotate that if that's not correct. The sidewall on it is literally 3 fingers. That's the sidewall. So the fact that the ride quality is that good with that little sidewall in comfort mode, man, Audi engineers, their suspension engineers, deserve a pat on the back for making that happen. So the big bogey in the room with the Audi TT RS is the price. Not the base price, but more prices tested. And this has got a number of options, and the Monroney is in the trunk area, so I can't run down everything for it, but the base price is roughly $65,500. Okay, that's not an unreasonable amount of money for this vehicle, especially at the performance level, the quality of materials, etc. No issues with that. But as tested with driver performance pack and carbon trim and other bits and bobs on here, I'll roll in a price. I'll roll in a picture of the Monroney so you can see all the options here. Comes out to $80,200. Now that is a stretch for this vehicle, only because you are getting into, say, used 911 territory, and not very old used 911 territory, like 3-year off lease 911 territory. And this compared to a 911, well, it's 911 all day. Interestingly enough, and we'll thank Peter DiLorenzo for pointing this out when he had this very particular vehicle about 2 months ago now, I guess it is. He priced a Porsche Cayman S versus an Audi TT RS, this Audi TT RS. And they pretty much track dollar for dollar when you start adding in the options and things like that. And that's pretty interesting. So you have to ask yourself, Audi TT RS or Porsche Cayman S? That's a much more difficult argument to have, or a different conversation to have, because different dynamics, true mid-engine sports car. This GT car, sure. Is the Cayman a GT car? Sure, it can be. No reason it can't be. You know, cachet and a few perceptions and other things like that starts to become an interesting conversation, right? So, yeah, it's an interesting one to think about. Fuel economy on this, I don't know. Well, I know what the EPA says. What we're getting, I don't know, because again, we've said trying to find things in the instrument cluster. It's either not there or it's hiding really well. EPA rates it at 19 city, 29 highway, 22 combined. Sure, not unreasonable. It's fine. That feels, with the amount of driving and what it says we have for range, that feels about right. I don't think you're buying this worrying too much about fuel economy, though. So, but it handles well, it drives well, it's very comfortable. The stereo system in here is good. It's a Bang & Olufsen system. It's not the best B&O system we've heard, but you put good quality music into it and it sounds very nice. Streaming, you know, Sirius XM radio sounds, it's okay, but, you know, nothing to get too excited about. So, overall, Audi TT RS, absolutely. It's a very, very compelling car. Enjoyed it. Really don't want to see this one go back. I actually did call and see if I could stretch this for another couple days, but no, that wasn't happening, because as you would imagine, in the local press fleet here, this is in demand. So we've put our miles on it. Would we like to put more miles on it? Absolutely, but that's fine. Pretty much the entire, this is like one day or part of a day. Actually, it did rain earlier today. Pretty much the entire time we've had this vehicle, it's rained every day. And it does well in the rain. Traction control is great. No worries. It's a really good vehicle. I like it a lot. Is it half an R8? No. Is it a very fun car, enjoyable car, reasonable value? Yes, as long as you don't start getting ridiculous on your options list. Yeah, go and drive this thing. It's every bit as good as everyone else says it is. And that's a very pleasant surprise for me, because half the time these things never live up to the hype. This one does. Hey, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. If you don't like us, give us a thumbs up twice. Like that smash button. And share, subscribe. And we'll see you next time on rumblestrip.net and 10-Minute Test Drive.